Good news, you're here just in time. Here's another Laneway Talks.
Good morning, Rob. How are you? Welcome to another episode of Laneway Talks.
Good morning, Vince. I'm very well. Thank you for asking, and thanks for having me once again.
Rob, what I thought I'd start with today, just a 5 minutes on Laneway Red, and just to say, it's all moving along. We're still ironing out issues, and take-up is quite slow, but we always knew that would be because it is a new platform. But I think the biggest issue is that you have to, and it's an issue of today, Rob. I think people become very reluctant to do anything that takes more than 5 or 10 minutes of their time to say register, and that's it. So if you have to spend 10 minutes and you have to think about it, but I know I've got whether it be free or the premium of Spotify or Apple Play. You don't have to think about it, and it's just too easy, and it's all too hard. I'll get to it later. I see that with my kids a lot. If I say, now, you should register with Laneway Red and you should be members, I'll get to that, Dad. And that is a common answer. I'll get to it. And I think that applies to everybody in that everything is instantaneous these days. You only want 2 or 3 clicks and it's got to be done, because otherwise I'm too important, self-importance. You know, how many times you see someone walking a dog and they're talking as if they're running BHP on their phone,
I still don't get that whole thing. They're missing the walk. But anyway.
And they're either typing or they're talking, and as I say, they're running BHP. They're making a board decision. Anyway, I think they
probably could be. Yeah.
No,
in the context of their own life, it might be.
Wow. So there's some of the issues that we need to just stay on, and our basis at the moment of pushing it, because remember, we have not started officially campaigning it, is to just keep doing posts on our Facebook page and our YouTube community and on Threads and things like that, LinkedIn, and just always directing the audience to Laneway Red. We're not directing them anywhere else. And we're just going to stay on that day in, day out. Anyway, so that's that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was results on socials, and get your opinion on that, Rob, because, that's all we do every day. It's social media. It's looking at the results and the analytics on that social media. I wanted to say, well, where do we start? I kind of start left to right when we've got to do a post. And I start with YouTube community. You move to shorts. You've got shorts in there, short videos, which we developed via a TikTok app, CapCut. CapCut, which is it's a subscription service which allows you to put a whole heap of text overlays and effects over videos. And we just find the ease of that product within TikTok, for whatever it costs, I don't know, $100 a year, is extremely useful. And so we, what you have to do when you get a video sent from an artist, we first need, and they'll send it in 16:9. Normally everything's 2K. Some of the new ones are 4K, but 2K. And we then need to convert that to a vertical. Now, to convert it to a vertical, there sometimes can be extremely easy if the vision has been delivered and the artist is in the centre of the screen, because the vertical then creates, goes to the centre. And when you cut out the sides, you can still see the artist. If the artist is moving left to right, well, then we need to move that artist within the centre. Now, we can do that in post-production, but, everything takes time. So we sometimes have to do that. But, you've got to go in and create the vertical. Now, there's a 7-second for Spotify Canvas, which is the background behind your song when it's playing, and there is 60-second verticals for other socials, and whether it be shorts, reels, and all that kind of stuff. And so quite a bit of work goes in. So we've got to create that. We then got, of course, Instagram and Facebook. You got Threads, you got Reels, you got TikTok, you got Twitter, and then, as we know, the woke social media side of the world, LinkedIn, where there's not one
keep
swear.
saying that.
Yeah, not one swear. Well, I love to say it because that's my nickname for it, because there's not one swear word ever mentioned, and everybody always celebrates you've been 1 year or 2 years or 3 years at the company you're working at. Comes up and says, congratulate Rob Boundy. He's been at Derringer's now for 5 years. So they put an automatic congrats in there, which is a complete waste of time. I mean, seriously, what are we doing here? We're trying to be productive, I would have thought, not worry about congratulating you on your birthday or your anniversaries at work. But that's what they do on there. So they're the, all the areas that we need to firstly create product for, and then we need to analyse that and go, well, what kind of results are we getting on these? Now, on community, very little results, because YouTube think that that's working really well, but it's not really. Shorts work really well in YouTube. So YouTube Shorts, which are essentially, if you just upload a 60-second or shorter video, it will automatically go to Shorts. It will not go into normal videos. Instagram, quite good results. Although, we sit at about, I think, 1,300 followers. And that's, you might say it doesn't sound fantastic, but it's kind of sat there now for the last 2 years. But we can get some fantastic results. So I'm not sure that having 500,000 followers is always the do-all or end-all. You can have low amount of followers, but you can still get some phenomenal results. Of course, we want a lot of followers, but I don't think our product allows itself to have those kind of followers, because is it original or am I regurgitating videos, which I am doing? So I'm putting up releases, and so it's really a news reel on Instagram for us.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Threads, I find absolutely results are just non-existent. There's very poor results on Threads. I don't even know why Threads is there. Do you even know why Threads is there, Rob?
Not really. It seems to be a distraction. Is it like an alternative?
Well, it's part of Meta, Facebook.
To TikTok, though?
Could be, yeah.
Because that's what it seems. It's like a TikTok, but it just takes you off of the Facebook page and goes to
poor results. Doesn't work.
Not sure what the purpose of it is, but
Reels. Now, Reels works really well, so we get some phenomenal results on Reels. But then we get phenomenal results on videos on Facebook, and Reels is just Facebook. TikTok can get some great results there. It depends what time of day you're posting for your type of product. Twitter.
I've read somewhere that you should have a look at the analytics of when your channel is actually viewed.
Yeah, we do. We do.
When to post,
Yeah. That's really important, and we do. But what we're trying to find is new viewers, and so therefore we try and go all around the place because we're trying to bring in some new viewers. Whereas with YouTube, we know that between the hours of 8 a.m. and say 10 in the morning, and then between 6 and say 8 at night, which seems quite predictable, doesn't it, are our biggest audience. And that is 7 days a week. There is like Tuesday, it's scattered all over the day. It's not really high performance anywhere. But all the other days, it's between those hours, we have high performance figures or analytics. What I mean by high performance, we've got a lot of people on, and we're getting a lot of hits and views. Twitter is a hit and miss. I find sometimes we get some kind of results, other times we get absolutely nothing. And I suppose too, my personal opinion is that Twitter is a shock sensation social media site, and because I look at a lot of the stuff that comes across when I'm going up to put socials up there, and people are just making outlandish kind of comments or statements, just crazy stuff, and people putting up comments about their personal life and how something has affected them personally and how they're devastated. It's like, and then I try and go, well, is this a famous person? And it's not even a famous person. It's insanity.
It's interesting why people do that, because I think they've seen the celebrities do that, because that's what the promotion is just whatever drama they can have in their life. It makes them get more views or they're more popular. So they think, oh, well, I'll do that and that'll work for me. But I think there's a step missing there, and it's called celebrity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you. So, there's this nuance to that. And then you get to LinkedIn, and the reason I post across about 5 groups in LinkedIn is because I'm trying to promote our artist to certain segments that potentially may want to use our music. I'm not trying to grow an audience for our artists, because on LinkedIn, I don't think you can grow an audience for your artist. It's not that platform. But
I use LinkedIn, as you know, I promote this blog on LinkedIn purely from a professional.
Yeah, and it's education and all that, right? So I think that works.
It is, yeah.
Whereas you're going. Well,
it's also, it's also for me, being a researcher and an academic, the ability to have this platform that we, have every week with Laneway Talks. We can talk about views and my research and what we're doing. So on a LinkedIn platform, you're actually getting more professionals listening to it.
I think it works for you. It's a good platform for you. I don't think it is for us, for Laneway.
I think it's a necessary evil for me, but I'm not sure how it works because I'm not really aware of how to view analytics, and every time they want you to get more results, they're asking you for more money. And LinkedIn is very expensive.
I don't
for the professional version of it.
I think we pay. What do we pay? About $700 a year for the premium.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, even if they try to get us to market on there, as if I'd ever market on a LinkedIn, it'd be different if I was a software company trying to, and forget we do have software in that. We have Laneway Red, but that's not what I'm talking about. If I had a software company, well, you would kind of market on there, but not us. It is expensive, and
it's very expensive,
I don't think the results would be phenomenal. But they do ask us crazy stuff. Like I've tried to unsubscribe for about 10 years to their. They send me their jobs, jobs that suit you. Yeah. And I get these jobs like, data analyst or data input operator. And I think, is this some kind of joke? I've tried to press the unsubscribe button so many times and it doesn't work. I couldn't even be bothered sending them a message because they are Microsoft. And with Microsoft at the moment, we're having still huge issues with our OneDrive, which does not work. And they've admitted to me in writing it doesn't work. It works for corporates, the big professionals that are paying the big dollars for a different version of OneDrive. But our small version, which we pay to subscribe to, doesn't work. So I'm not writing to them. So anyway, you got stuff like that. But LinkedIn is still very good for us to promote, say, you never know, someone might see a Virgin Soldiers song and go, oh, that'd be good in a commercial, or that'd be good in a movie, or that'd be good in a TV serial. Or,
I wish they would.
Yeah, but that's where you're going to get producers, directors, production companies where they're on there and they may see it. So that's why we do that for sync and whatever.
I always thought, and I've had a few people say to me, the song Hell Night would have been perfect for the battle scene in Game of Thrones against the dead, because it basically summarised what was going on. It would have been a perfect song for that in Game of Thrones. So imagine if that was picked up.
Well, I've never watched Game of Thrones, but it's like any other show. It's got its qualities. Absolutely. If it had been picked up, that's what you look for. So that's just a little bit. Just wanted to talk a bit about that and just say, well, there's these results across socials. You do have to look at them daily. There's some, you got to do them all just in case something does take off. But what it does is it's a scattergun approach, and it's about awareness just of Laneway music and then its artists. You can't get away from it. And I think, I'm not sure there's going to be any other social media. There may be one other one that'll come in one day and one will drop out. But it seems to be fairly rigid now. These are the ones that you play around and you put product up on. Of course, it takes dedication every day to do it, Rob.
It does, yeah. I'm struggling with that every day.
Day in, day out, you've got to do it. Really hard for a single artist to do, because how do they come up with new ideas every day to put something up there? Very easy for us because we have so many releases, so, we can pick and choose. I think not as easy for you, but easier than just the one artist because you've got, the different facets of what you do. Anyway, so
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I wanted to go over today.
Okay.
And
cool.
then there was the Rick Beato rant that I watched.
Which rant was it?
Well, it was during the week, and it was about he'd been asked to go to a Senate inquiry, a Senate hearing over there on the music business, and were artists being paid correctly? And
that was Don Henley, was
yeah, and it was Don Henley that he talked about, and he went on an absolute rant about Don Henley because Don Henley went in there and said they're getting ripped off by the socials because, for example, he had to, this would be the Eagles, I would suspect, they had 60 people that worked for them, 60, and their job day in, day out was to stay across socials and put up copyright claims.
Yeah.
So if someone like Rick, had used 6 seconds, he used an example, 6 seconds of a video, he got a copyright claim, to get it out. So, he goes, then what happens is it stops your monetisation. And Rick makes his money from monetisation.
Yeah, it does.
He seemed to indicate he wasn't making that much. I thought with 1 million subscribers, he'd be making a fortune. And so it demonetised that particular video or podcast, whatever you want to call it. And so he said it was unfair because how wealthy is Don Henley? And you're promoting the artist by putting him in there. Now, if it's a favourable discussion, you are promoting him. If it's not favourable, you're not promoting him. But there's always a theory that doesn't matter what kind of discussion it is, you're always promoting that person because bad news can be really good for your career. And so he did go on an absolute banter about it, and I kept listening, and I started to get really bored with it because he just continued on, and how unfair it was for people like himself who were doing podcasts, and he puts in 12 hours to put together a show, and he obviously has a staff member or two that help him do it all, and that how unfair it was. And I had to have a good think about it because I had to turn it off in the end because he was driving me insane. And I thought, and then I did see that he was in hospital later. And I thought maybe
the American way.
Yeah, he'd had a heart attack or something. But that aside, I thought, well, what do I think about that? And well, I think that if Don Henley wrote the song and recorded the song, if you want to use some of his vision or his audio within, now remember, if you're using it in a podcast, it's not like you're recording the song. So I could go out, Rob, and I can record a Don Henley song or a Eagles song, and as long as I pay the publishing share, there's no issue. I own the recording copyright, but the writers get the publishing. And that is completely legal, and I don't need to get their permission. So
you can use that for whatever content.
So let's make sure everybody's clear about that. I can go in, I can record a Beatles song. I don't need to ask the Beatles. I can record it. As long as I'm paying, if it was John Lennon and Paul McCartney who wrote it, and the publishing is being paid, then they don't have any rights to say I can't re-record it, because it's my recording copyright, and that's the law.
Yeah, we did that with Come Together when we released Come Together on our first EP.
Correct.
But we had to pay Michael Jackson because he, at that stage, owned all the Beatles copyright.
Well, I'll tell you why you had to pay, because this comes up all the time. You had to pay because back when there was vinyl and CD, if you were to record and you're not signed to a major label or a label of any note, you could go out and manufacture 10,000 CDs, sell them at your shows, and never report back and never pay any publishing. So there's the difference between then and now. Now, if we say, as of now, CDs are dead, vinyls are so insignificant, who even wants to talk about it? So it's all digital. So it's all captured. So as long as the publishing is being paid by either a rights organisation, in our case AMCOS, or if you have a publisher who then goes and pays the writers, you're completely covered. You don't need to get any permissions, and you don't need to prepay anything either. All right?
Yeah, we had to prepay.
Well, of course you did, because it was physical.
Yeah. And that was 87.
Yeah. Well, how did I know that you weren't going to manufacture 10,000 vinyls or CDs and sell them and never pay me my publishing share if I was John Lennon?
Yeah, you don't.
Right. So there's the difference, and that's why you had to do it. That doesn't apply now because the CD is dead and the physical is dead.
Yeah, but in that instance with the same song, like online through Spotify, through Laneway Music, every time that gets a play, that registers with their publisher?
No, not with their publisher. So what would happen is Spotify pay. Now, they will have direct deals with publishers. So they would pay some publishers directly, and they would pay rights organisations like APRA and AMCOS, and they would pay them directly for the publishing share of songs that are not written by the artist who's singing it. So it's all covered. So Laneway, we pay through all those commercial digital DSPs, digital service providers, so that all the publishing gets paid to the right people, and Laneway Red gets paid via app. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So it's all covered. Whereas if you were to be a site online that didn't have any relationships like that, well then you would be captured because you couldn't put up a cover song because you weren't paying the publishing. Principle is there, the same as before.
Yep.
Okay. So does that make sense?
It does, yeah. It does.
Okay. So pretty straightforward for everybody out there, how that operates. So I go back to, was Don Henley being unreasonable? Well, not really. If he wrote the song and it's his version that you are using, a snippet of, say audio, or of his video, but say of the audio, and say, for example, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones are very narcissistic about this. They are onto you in a flash, that if you have a band and they record a Rolling Stones song or a Beatles song and you put it up on YouTube, you will be pinged straight away. So you would say to me, but hold on, Vince, you just said there's no issue as long as you pay the publishers. But in the circumstance of YouTube, they consider, and this is what they do because they have the legal might to do it, their stance is it is a TV channel, and remember YouTube call it a channel, therefore,
they do.
Therefore it's sync, and sync requires a agreement between the artist and the artist who wrote it and the artist who wants to record it. So if we want to use Virgin Soldier's song in a movie, I have to get your permission and I have to prepay you. Okay?
Okay.
If I want to use it in a commercial, a movie, a commercial, or any other form of visual, it is called synchronization, and I need to get your approval. If I want to record the audio and just pay the publisher, I don't need your approval. Now, let's just get that. So is that a clear distinction for you?
Wow, okay. Yeah. So go through that again.
If I was to use your song in a movie, a TV commercial, a TV show, and there's a few distinctions with TV, and I'll say that in a minute, talk about that.
Yep.
I need to get a synchronization license, which we call a sync license. We do these all the time for artists. So movies come to us and they go, can we use Virgin Soldier's Power Hungry in this movie or this TV show? We go, yep. And how many seconds do you want? And they go, 15 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever. And we go, yep, that'll cost you $2,500. All right?
Yep.
And that is a synchronization license. They do mostly take them for perpetuity, which we don't like, but you got to do it for perpetuity because that show gets sold all around the world. How you can kind of keep track of it is just a nightmare. Because I've made movies also, I know what a nightmare that is. So we always agree to the perpetuity because it gets kind of lost in the system. So,
but you don't get repaid. It's just you get one payment, right?
No, you can be on points also. If it's big enough, you'll be on points. If you're not big enough, it's just a one payment up front.
Okay.
All right. If the song's big enough, we always charge big dollars. So we could charge $10,000 or $15,000 for a TV commercial if it's a 12-month commercial, 30 seconds, and with an option to take it for a further 12 months. So, because imagine how many times that's going to get shown. Well, you've got to consider that the music is as important as the visual itself.
Well, it is.
Yeah. So once again, does that make sense to you?
That does, yes. The sync license.
Right. Yeah, the sync. But whereas if it's audio recording, I don't need your approval. I just need to make sure I pay the publishing. So back to Don Henley. Well, he wrote it. If Rick used part of his audio or his video in there, well, I reckon he needs a sync license. Rick Beato's saying, well, this is just unfair because I'm promoting him anyway and I'm talking about him and it's education in a sense. But, well, Rick's making money out of all this.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying, and I've always found that a common argument. Well, I'm promoting your product. How valid an argument is that? If you've created that product, you deserve to be recognised, compensated for it as an artist. If someone else is sharing it, yes, they're promoting it, but you still need to be compensated.
There's been this
fair enough, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's been this argument over the years that, people used to always ask for free usage. They go, but, we're promoting, you know who we are, and we're going to be promoting you. You're getting free promotion out of it. Mm. And my argument always coming back is, unfortunately, the artist has to eat. You are a commercial venture and you need to pay that artist for the right to be in there. I had a guy from the Formula One, he does Formula One commentaries. He wanted to use one of our artists, one of our bigger artists. He wanted to use one of the songs. And I said, well, that would cost you X dollars. He said, I don't have a lot in the budget for music. And I said...
You're talking Formula One.
Yeah. And I said, and he's travelling the world. And I said, well, the band are very adamant about things like this. You are making a living out of what you're doing and you want their music to promote your living. And he said, but they're going to get promoted. It could really take off. I said, the band are not interested in that. That's a hope and a dream.
That's right.
All right. So I said, no, declined.
Yeah.
And that was that.
Well, it comes back to, pubs asking bands to play for exposure. It's like, well, it's pretty hard to cash in exposure at the supermarket every week, isn't it?
Yeah. You got to put bread on the table. So I found it very difficult to really come to terms with Rick and what he was saying and how he was so upset about it. I really was. But anyway, it's probably worth you having a look at that.
I've got it in front of me, actually.
Yeah, you can't watch it all. It just goes on and goes on.
Yeah. He's got 4.35 million subscribers. So,
how many has he got? 4 million?
4.35.
Because he said 1 million on there. So,
on the tag here, it's got Rick Beato, tick, 4.35 million subscribers.
Just from that alone, the amount of money he would be making would be unbelievable. Anyway. So
I could write a book on the lack of transparency within the industry at large, but I'm concentrating on writing another book on Australian popular music.
Well, I do kind of agree with a lot of the stuff he talks about, and he's got some really good points. I thought this one. I probably need you to look at it, to view it, and next week just come back in 5 minutes and say, what you thought about it. Was it reasonable? And were his thoughts reasonable? But he did go to town on it. Okay. Anyway, that's enough on that. What do you got this week, Rob?
I kind of had a weird week. I went to have a meeting with an editor yesterday about getting my book published and trying to follow that up. So it's very time intensive, pretty much no money at this point in time. So it's very frustrating at this point in my career to have everybody telling me in academia that my work needs to be published, but there is no editors out there willing to front up anything to help me get it published. So, I just like people going, yeah, your work's fantastic, and, you're one of the leading minds within, the country or the world, because, you've been granted your PhD that basically confirms that, and you're an authority on Australian rock music history, and, you've argued your point, so you don't need to argue your point anymore, you just need to publish your work. So I've contacted so many people and spoke with so many academics and publishers and editors over the past 6 months, and it still comes back to, I'm looking at doing about another 2 or 3 years' work before I even get to the starting point of releasing my book. So a little bit frustrated with that at the moment.
Tell me,
as you say, it doesn't put food on the table.
Well, Rob, tell me, let's talk about physical publishing, and that's what you're talking about here.
Absolutely.
Where would your book be sold?
Well, I want it worldwide. I want it mainly.
Okay, let's think worldwide. But so if I think here in Melbourne, so where am I going to buy your book?
But I don't. For me, the content of the book, everybody in Australia has an inkling about what I'm talking about. The thing that, for Australian artists and Australian music culture, we get so buried under UK and US culture that we've got a history that's really overlooked totally worldwide, like in the UK and in the United States. I think that market over there needs to be aware of what happened here, because what happened here was just as important as what happened in the UK and what happened in the US during, from 62 to 94.
Yeah, but you're responding to me like Albo or one of the politicians. You didn't answer my question. So where can we buy the book? So if I think about Melbourne, where could I buy it?
Where could you buy it?
Yeah, there's two things, isn't there? I could buy it at Readings, because that's about all there is left. They've got a couple of stores, and that is it. But if it was to go to academia, that's a different thing altogether, because there's guaranteed sales every year, isn't there?
No, not at all.
Well, if you're doing a degree and it's part of the syllabus, isn't that guaranteed sales?
No, not at all.
Well, why not? No. Explain that.
I don't understand. I mean, that's the web of intrigue that I'm trying to get through at the moment. Is like when you go to a publisher like a Rutledge or an Oxford University Press, they license your book within academia. And just an instance that I know, there's a colleague of mine over here in Adelaide that's written a fantastic book, and he's got his doctorate, PhD, and he released an academic book. And it sells for $200 a copy, right? Now, that's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Since he's released it, how many copies do you reckon he's sold over the past 10 years?
Well, not a lot.
No, 2.
2 copies?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about, so therefore, where do we bring this online where it becomes an audible book or whatever it may be?
Well, see, that's an academic book. What I'm aiming for is a general issue book that will go out to the general public.
Yeah. So therefore, isn't it about having the book online books and audible books? Isn't that where the future lies?
I think so. I mean, I have to look at the market to see what the percentages of people actually buying a hard copy book versus downloading and having it on Kindle. I mean, Kindle's very popular as well. So it would be published across all of those mediums. So
we have subscribed to certain, this was over the years, we have subscribed to sites where they have actually, I'll use this example, social media education, all right? So we've subscribed to those. Actually, I don't know if we subscribed to them. We paid one-off fee for certain parts of the syllabus because we wanted to learn at the time some really in-depth stuff, and we've been prepared to pay for that. And I would suspect a lot of people have paid for that. Now, that's where I see your kind of product. Why wouldn't people be prepared to pay a one-off fee to get it, and then they can either download it or it goes to, and there's Audible books, which are really important, and there's Kindle, that kind of stuff. Isn't that the future, though? That's what I'm asking. Isn't that where it all is? I don't buy books anymore. I personally don't buy books anymore. And
but see, I still do,
Yeah, but let's say we need some figures then. We would need some figures, Rob, on what part of the population do buy books, and it can't be much because there's no bookstores left. So if I go to Melbourne, there's one here in Richmond and there is one in town. There's one bookstore in town, Readings, and that is it in the CBD.
One bookstore in the whole of
The CBD, right? So
Is
that's,
that a fact?
yeah, that is a fact. So there can't be too many sales. Now, they're good bookstores. They seem pretty good. My son used to buy a few books. There was no doubt about it. He used to go in there. My brother used to go into bookstores. I don't go anywhere near them. But those stats alone would tell you, and they're not huge, those stats alone would tell you how many physical books are being sold. So therefore, you'd have to be pretty damn popular for a publisher to pick you up to actually put that out. Now, there is, what about online, selling the physical book online so it gets delivered to you? And we do that with some of our artists who write books, autobiographies and that, and it's all online sales. And that can, there's another dimension there. But I take it back to, isn't the future about the book being a digital product or a subscription service, or you can buy certain parts of, if it's a syllable, if it's an education kind of book, therefore you can buy certain parts of it and have access to it to study and whatever. And that to me is the future. But that's me talking. I mean, I don't know. Am I the odd one out? But that's how I would do it. And we have done that. We have, as I said, purchased certain syllabus for particular parts of social media education. So we've drilled down and we're prepared to pay that. Now, that's not cheap. It might be $170 for that particular piece of it. So you'd probably end up spending $1,000 if you're buying the whole lot. I did hear Rick Beato say the other day, he goes, and my book, I've taken our online book, it's taken years to write. And he goes, and today, and he's doing this, and I want you to watch this part of it. He goes, and today, where it's 50% off.
He does that every episode.
Does he?
Call to action every episode. Yeah, it's always
50% off. Well,
that's when it's the normal sales pitch that comes in every one of those blogs.
I find that look, I don't like that kind of sales pitch. It's 50% off today. I'm prepared.
That's the call to action. You have to do that. That's what
you have to say. 50% off.
Oh, whatever. It's like
if you said it was there available, I'm happy. But 50% off to me says, is it worth 100%?
It's trying to fault with salespeople that think that people need to hear those things to realise they're getting a good deal. So, because it triggers some sort of emotion in people to go, I better buy it today because it's 50% off. Well, tomorrow it might be 60. Well, it might not. It might be 30. How much is petrol today? Well, I better not buy petrol because it might go down by 10 cents a litre.
That's exactly how I think. What you just said then. So, why would I? It could be more. It could be less. I'm prepared to pay the whole lot if I value it at that. You're selling it at that full 100% price, so you valued it at that. Anyway, put that aside. I come back to your books and I think, so we've been prepared to do that. Why wouldn't people be prepared to pay for your books, products, whatever, on that basis? And is that the future there?
I don't know the answer to that because everything you just said, I can't really comprehend.
There's a knowledge base. You've got a knowledge.
I'm caught up in having to rewrite book proposals, which is totally time consuming. Now, I've spent 4 years writing 120,000 words at the highest level possible. Now, I've got to come back and spend another 3 years rejigging that to 80,000 words to release it as a book. How much time do you think I've got to sit down and ponder what the market is out there? Not a lot. So I'm grateful for everything you've said, but none of it has landed because I'm still sitting here thinking about how am I going to edit my table of contents and what chapter is going to be the best chapter to lead with, and you know what I mean?
Absolutely, I do.
I just feel like I'm chasing my tail, and every editor or academic that I speak to just doesn't help the situation at all. It just makes it more confusing and more depressing. So, as I just said before, you have a knowledge base. So we've got Dr. Robert Boundy, and that title comes with knowledge, a knowledge base that is supposed to apply with that title. You are a drum tutor, so there's that part of your knowledge base. You are a musician, so there's another knowledge base. And I'm an author, yeah.
Well, and an author. And, I say to you, the biggest problem is trying to identify how you commercialise that, and that's a really hard thing to do. But it's how you get through all the fodder and get out at the other end and go, here, this is how I commercialise my knowledge base.
Yeah, that's the most frustrating thing for me.
If I was to...
Because everyone's got a different version that's 100% right. It's like, really?
Well, I give you the example of myself when I finished up with Gadinsky, and I thought, what am I going to do? Started up a company called Third Verse, which only lasted a kind of a year or so as a label and touring company, and then Laneway was established. Now, Laneway was established because an artist came to me, in this case Mike Rudd, with my expertise and, from labels and being, in major independent labels. And therefore, how could I get his music online and how could I do it all and yada, yada, yada. And I'd never thought about starting it like that on my own. And then I brought on a partner, but I thought to myself, well, I do have that knowledge base. I do have 30 years of knowing what to do and how to negotiate. And here we are 10 years, it's virtually 10 years, my partner said, that we kind of talked about it first, and here we are still going, and we're now moved over to Laneway Red and trying to promote that. And I found a way to commercialise my experience on my own, because I've never really run my own companies. I've been very successful running corporates, really, and extremely successful with it. It'd be from the finance end in the entertainment industry, of course, or from a more operational end. And so I found wow, I actually do have this knowledge base, and I can do it on my own. And I see the same for yourself, is that it's there. You just need to find, you're going through the tunnels and you've got to find the right tunnel to get you out at the other end. Yeah. Of course, we know that we need to build the Rob's Drum Sheds followers, and whatnot, and to, then bring in all that knowledge that you have around all of that, whether it be educational, tutorial, physical, or whatever.
I mean, on that, when you say Laneway's 10 years, I started Rob's Drum Shed in 2001. That's 23 years. And I've still got it. I still keep it going. So, but there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of information that I've collected, and there's, as you use the word, syllabus. I've written several for the instrument across different versions of that, whether it be, snare drum to drum kit to compositional. Or to historical. So it's just a matter of, I have a couple of books out there, and I've got a few more in me yet. So.
Well, as you said last week, you'd, got 9 new subscribers, and,
10 now.
Yeah, 10, and it's just, as we know, nowhere near enough. That needs to be 100, and then it needs to be 1,000. So we need to keep working that. And we need to help too, because we do this show together, and so therefore we need to bring, I think we have 43,000 YouTube followers. We have 31,000 Facebook followers. And so we need to try and help with that. And the podcast itself, now I've, for example, put it up on Facebook, but loaded it up as a video. Now, so we can direct a post to Spotify, the podcast, Laneway Talks with Rob and Vince. Yep. But what happens is, as we've discussed before, and for everybody out there, Facebook will close the doors on you if you are asking people to move off their platform.
Yeah, they do.
So what we now started to do, and people will start to see it, we're now going to be very vigilant about it, is it will go up as a Laneway, in this case, we would put up there Laneway Talks, and I would load the video up. So I've converted the audio, the WAV or the MP3, I've converted it to an MP4, and we then put it up as a video in Facebook as a post. We then, in the comments, can there put links to go elsewhere and listen to it. It makes
I saw one of those.
Does that make
the
sense?
past few days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
We're
yeah. Well, you've got
starting
put
to do that, Rob.
the link in the comments. Yep.
And if you're doing things on your site, you need to now adopt that method, because that is the method where their spidering, their analytics do not pick up. I think it's illegal for them to stop someone putting a link in a comment and therefore throttle your post. That is illegal. Whereas if you put it in your post, essentially, it's not illegal that they can throttle you back because, well, you're on their site. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So we've picked up this from, and very much so from, as I said to you, we subscribe to certain educational products on social media, and we picked it up there that you could actually put the link in the post. So what we'll do now, if I'm putting up Brando Rising, their new video, then in the comments I'll put, and you can listen to it in Laneway Red here, and here's the link in the comment.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get your video throttled.
Okay.
You've got to think about things like that. So these are all these new ways of getting around that. But once again, I put the podcast up on Facebook. I loaded it up as an MP4. We haven't put them into Laneway Red yet, but I'm thinking about that because we don't have a genre for podcasts, and we might put one in. I've got to talk about that on the weekend.
MP4 you're loading into Facebook. It's not an MP4 you're loading into YouTube and then linking to Facebook.
So hold on again. Say that again.
The MP4 that you've got of the artist, you're loading that directly into Facebook.
Into Facebook, yes, as a video.
It's not a video from YouTube.
No, not a link. No, you don't want those links. No. You don't want those links. No. They got to stop.
But you can put those links in the comments on Facebook.
Absolutely. So you want to load up the video as the post, all right? So as you would put a picture in there, you're loading up the MP4.
So in other words, because I'm talking about getting a Facebook link back to YouTube so you get more.
No, because what will happen is if you have it in the post, they will throttle that post and not show people. If you don't just put the video up on Facebook, they will, go out to all your people and allow it. And in the comments, you put, here's the link to your YouTube channel or whatever else, to your website.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm thinking as far as like getting more subscribers back to your YouTube channel via a Facebook post. You have to put a link to YouTube in it, but it needs to be in the comments.
No, it's got to be in the comment. Don't put it in the post itself because...
Which was what we did with Laneway Talks last week, I think.
Yeah. So
I put the link to Laneway Talks in the comments.
Yes.
In the Facebook post. So we had a reasonably good reaction to that. And the feedback's been good for Laneway Talks.
And it takes time. So, you can't go, well, we didn't get much results. We did that. I just did that the other day. It'll take months and months of your posts, but you don't put the redirect link. And that's why Spotify smart cards now, we've learned, are not working in Facebook. So if we do a post with a smart card, and if you click on it, you go to Spotify, they throttle that post back because they don't want you going off Facebook. All right?
Throttle means block or...
the best way I can explain it, they'll throttle you back. So whereas they'll open the throttle and open the floodgates if, to your audience and to a like audience. So...
All right.
That's what you need to do. It's a different technique. And as I said to you, where do we pick that up? We picked that up, I won't say where because I don't want to promote their site. We picked that up on a social media education site that we have subscribed to or bought certain volumes out of their education section. All right?
Which comes back to what you're talking about before.
All right.
Yep.
Anyway, that's anything else, Rob?
No, that's about it for me.
There's another hour gone. I can't believe it. It just rolls on, and we try to say we don't want to go for more than about 40 minutes. Anyway.
I just quickly, I have spent quite a bit of time on the Virgin Soldiers Power Hungry video, which is almost ready for release, working with another artist here, Blake Shepherd, on a release which we've done the video of promo for a new single that we're working on, and working with Michael Hill as well, who I think has got back to you about releasing his new single Unclean, which we're going to do a video for at the moment as well. So.
Yes, he sent his agreement back, and so we're ready to roll. Everybody, yes, you do have to sign agreements to come on Laneway Music. Isn't that terribly corporate, But we all have to protect the artist and ourselves.
Absolutely. No.
But the one good thing is it is a favourable deal all the time towards the artist, not us, and I can say that honestly. And we do have another. We have a couple of new releases coming. One is Susan Sorrell has her new song out. I think it is next Friday, not this Friday. And we also have coming out, if you remember Little Heroes, we have Roger Hart Wells has re-recorded One Perfect Day acoustically, and I can say it is absolutely sensational. It's a tearjerker, his version. It's a tearjerker.
Great song. Yeah. I mean, it was huge back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah. And we're hoping to actually get radio airplay. We don't look for radio airplay anymore because it's useless. But with something like that, because it's classic rock, it fits. It fits a lot of classic rock shows.
Oh, it's good. Excellent.
So we suspect we will get quite a bit of airplay.
There's a lot of great unplayed music out there that does fit those shows, but that doesn't seem to get played.
No, that's right. All right. So that's it for this week, Rob. And I must say, did you get a new microphone this week, Rob?
I did, as did you.
Oh, I think it sounds a lot better.
It does, yeah.
We've been amateurs up until this point with professional microphones, but amateurs on the podcast because they were the wrong mics for podcasting. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's development. But a shout out to the Derringers team because they've looked after us and advised us on that.
Yeah.
It's good to work with professionals.
Look, and we should talk in the future whether we start to get some cameras on either end and actually film it so that we have two versions, an audio and a video version. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
All right, Rob. Talk to you next week.
Okay, Vince. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
And there it is, another Laneway Talks.